Hey everybody. All right, it is Monday. September is already upon us and I'm still doing the Tavern from the road. So this is hopefully my last Tavern episode from the road for a while, planning to be at the campus most of the fall. And of course, it's been an interesting few weeks. I feel like our life at Patriot Academy has been like ABC's old Wide World of Sports. Remember the thrill of victory, the agony of defeat? I feel like we've been doing a lot of that. Some great victories, some tough defeats, and all in all, we're just counting it all joy when we experience various trials, and we're enjoying the victories too. There's been tremendous amount of life changing activity take place at our campus and amongst all of our other Patriot Academy activities across the country, the Constitution conferences that we've been doing, the opportunity to be with people in other states besides Texas, very involved. But anyway, welcome to the Tavern. We'll get into it tonight. I don't have my Tavern mug. I don't even have a good come and take it mug like we had at the Zizo's house last week in California. But we'll still toast you. And I don't even have my Patriot Brew coffee, so I'm not sure how well my brain will work tonight since I'm having to drink somebody else's coffee. But I do want to catch up on a few of the headlines that have happened over the last few weeks. Talk a little bit of the good, the bad, and the ugly, and also just catch you up on Patriot Academy. I am in Hot Springs, Arkansas. We came up here for a wedding of a family member and Patriot Academy team member, and decided to stay for a couple of days out here at a beautiful lake and just get a chance to spend some time as family. So you can actually see them having a good time down there. There's my youngest son Rhett and his look at him trying to. They're sneaking by. There's my granddaughter. Well, she's gone. Just missed her. Maybe she's going up the stairs here, and Gigi, which is of course my wife Kara. And anyway, Rhett and Lucy are looks like they're breaking in a swing down there. We'll see if they survive. Maybe this will make for a. Oh boy, there he goes. Sounded like a bad splash to me. Then over here, see we have Eden and Cameron getting some dinner. Here comes Kara and Alicia, and I'm trying to see. I cannot see the cutest of them all. Where is Truly? She's hiding. Okay, here Alicia's going to bring her around the corner to say hi to everybody. Okay, say hi. Yes, look at that cute face. Say hi. Yay. She's like, I can do this on my own. Let me go see Poppy. Oh, come on, baby. Come be the star of the show. Yes. Yes. Come be the star of the show. Come on, darling. Come say hi to everybody. Yes. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Here she is in her first podcast on the Tavern. Say hi. Can you say hi? Say hi. Oh, she wants the microphone. That's a green for you right there. Yes. Now say hi. All right. Go see Gigi. There we go. Anyway, so we're getting a couple days off. We're working from the lake house, but getting a chance to catch up on a little family time and just kind of celebrate a little bit of a break from a great summer of victory. So our summer was nonstop. Those of you that follow Patriot Academy, you know this. We do our leadership congresses across the country in state capitals, and there's been just a lot of just life transforming events, and then just encouraging work as well. You know, for those of you that have watched and followed on our social media channels and watched some of those reels, just 1 or 2 minute highlights of what we've been doing all the way from Colorado, Idaho, Florida, Delaware, Indiana, and then of course our big one at the campus in Texas at the Patriot Academy campus in Fredericksburg, soon to be Constitution City, Texas, or I should say later to be Constitution City. It was going to be soon, and now it's sooner or later. Now it's later. So anyway, we'll still be incorporating. That'll happen in 2026 instead of 2025, which I was very upset about at first. I'm still motivated, shall we say? Nice way to say it. But I'm also beginning to count the blessings of this and realize that that means we're going to officially incorporate in the year of the 250th. That's pretty cool. So that's got some poetic nature to it to go along with our 177.6 acres, 1776, and for Constitution City to be the place where Independence Hall is rebuilt and people will come to study the Constitution from all over the nation. So the poetic nature of being forced to do that now in 2026 2026 is not lost on me, and is part of my, I guess, solace there. So, anyway, kind of cool that that we've got um, the chance to sort of regroup here a little bit here at this beautiful lake, and get ready to get into the fight on all the fronts that'll be in September. So we've got Constitution Day coming up. That's of course time to celebrate and remind ourselves how great the Constitution is that we've been blessed with, and then we'll have a wedding at the end of September. My baby girl's getting married, and we're looking forward to that. And then just a little over a month later, those two that are jumping in the lake right now are going to be getting married. And so I have all four of my kids married by the end of the year. How cool is that? And then come February, the fifth grandchild will hit the ground running. So it's a wonderful, wonderful season in the Green family life, and we're excited about all the things that the Lord has in store for not only us as a family, but Patriot Academy in general. There's just a lot of big growth items that are going to happen in 2026, and so this gives us a few days to sort of rest a little and get ready for that action. Because once we get back to the campus later this week, in fact, I'm actually headed to Colorado from here. We've got another Constitution conference coming up. And of course, last week I spent most of the week in Los Angeles. I know that's weird for some people. If you're not in California, you're like, Rick, why are you investing so much in California? But it was actually a good reminder of how many patriots we have all over the nation in these blue states that we cannot give up on. And in fact, I had a little bit of time with Jack Hibbs last Wednesday before I spoke at his church Wednesday night. And man, what an encouragement, man. What a warrior. That guy, I've known Jack for 20 years, maybe 15, 20 years, something like that. And he's just tireless. I mean, he is a fearless warrior that has not given up on California and has been a catalyst for the turn that is happening in California now. And anyway, it was just encouraging to be with Jack and get to hear some of the stories and getting to I'm sorry, I'm trying to watch them jump in the lake while I'm talking to you. Anyway, getting to hear some of the stories of what they've been doing there and some of the things that are coming along. Of course, he's been fighting that crazy bill that was essentially going to allow for kidnapping of kids, and the insanity that they're dealing with has awakened so many. I mean, we had a wonderful dinner at this amazing family's home, just incredible house, and met so many great couples there that really do care about the country and care about their state, and they want to see their state turned around. And I say all that to just encourage you wherever you are. Many of you that watch the Tavern are from states where you feel like you're behind enemy lines, and I know especially the last 4 years it's felt like that. And I just want to encourage you, say, don't give up, don't grow weary in well doing, and be faithful with what God's given you where you are. Make sure that you're standing your ground wherever you're planted, wherever He's put you. Stand for truth. And as I mentioned to Jack Hibbs last week, my friend Nicole Tice out in Delaware, she was with us this weekend because the family member that was getting married is also her family. And we were talking about that, just the definition that she came up with for success, and it is advancing truth. If you're advancing truth, then you're winning the day. You may not win the campaign, you may not get the legislation passed, you may not turn your state completely around yet, but if you're advancing truth, you should consider it success. So that's what we're after. That's what Jack Hibbs was telling me they're after, and I'm thrilled to see them doing exactly that. So I had that wonderful dinner at that couple's house. Went to Jack Hibbs Church on Wednesday night and spoke and had a great time with them. And then Thursday night, of course, we had the big Flashpoint event in Los Angeles at Angelus Temple, and that was incredible. I mean, great crowd, wonderful time with them, and had Ed Rush and Luke Ball and Lorenzo Soul and Gene Bailey and myself. And they had another night, Friday night, that was also fantastic. I had to fly out for this wedding, but even just listening to Ed Rush that night for the live event and the optimism as a guy that's in California, lives in San Diego, a fighter pilot, Marine, someone that doesn't give up. And he was talking about just the temperature shift in California, the changes that are happening there, and just reminding all of us to be cognizant of our language and the things that we say, and realize, and of course, being a guy that, I mean, look, I grew up on Zig Ziglar. Okay, he wrote the forward to my first book. I understand what Zig always taught me about you are who you are and where you are. because of what's gone into your mind, and you can change who you are and where you are by changing what goes into your mind. And that includes what you say to yourself. That includes what you repeat. It includes who you listen to. And what Ed was reminding the audience of that night is that if you're constantly saying, "Oh, our state's falling apart, everything's going, down the tubes," all that kind of stuff, then you're essentially it's gonna be a self-fulfilling prophecy. The opposite is true. If it doesn't mean we're blind, or that we are myopic, or that we're Pollyanna or any of that. We're practical, and we recognize, we see the field, we know the battle that is before us, but we speak truth, and we advance truth, and we are constantly, as the book of Joel says, let the weak say I'm strong. And so even if you're in a place where you feel like your community is lost, instead of just saying it's lost, let's give up, start thinking about the things you can do to turn it around. The reason we're launching Rebuilding Liberty, and getting people to do that course in their communities is, I mean, think of how Nehemiah felt. Think about what it was like to show up, and the walls are destroyed, and the culture is gone. And you've got people lying about you. You've got people trying to stop you. You've got people threatening to kill you. You've got people setting traps and plots to literally kidnap you, and kill you, and remove you from the from the board. I mean, that's the type of thing Nehemiah faced. And yet he was able to keep his eye on the prize, keep his eyes on the goal, remember what God had sent him there for. He had the right backing from King Artaxerxes, so he had the money, and he had the tools, and the things that are necessary to win. But then he had to have the persistence and the attitude to overcome all the opposition that was coming against him, and even his own people being doubtful about what could be done. So I think we have to recognize that and say, okay, what is the battle that I've been called to? What is the place on the wall that God's asked me to rebuild? And regardless of the opposition that comes against me, I'm going to stay persistent on the goal. I'm going to keep my attitude right. I'm going to stay optimistic. I'm going to continue, day after day, no matter what the defeats are. That's what it's going to take, because I've said it a million times this year. Say it again. All of the victories that we're experiencing right now, everything that's happening in Washington, D.C., very good stuff. Incredible. Most successful 6 months in politics of my lifetime in terms of big, big, big changes. But every single bit of it is temporary. Every single bit of it can change on a dime. We have to do this where it is a literal rebuilding of the foundation. It's right out of the Declaration of Independence. It's exactly what Jefferson said, that when any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it and institute new guards for their future security, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such forms as shall seem to them the most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Jefferson's saying in those couple of sentences right there that whenever you make changes to your government, in their case, they were obviously throwing off an entire government and creating an entirely new government. In our case, we're altering or abolishing. We're altering our government back to a constitutional republic that answers to the people. We're abolishing pieces of our government that were never authorized by the people in the first place. So getting rid of certain departments or whatever it might be. But the whole idea is you have to lay the foundation. You got to spend the time pouring that slab, forming it up, doing everything right so it's strong, and organizing its powers, meaning you got to think through, how is this thing going to work? Who's going to answer to who? Who has authority over certain areas? What's the answer to the question, who decides within every area? Parental rights, property rights, all of those things. It takes time to think through that. It takes time to educate people on why these principles actually work. In the book Rebuilding Liberty, or a blueprint for Rebuilding Liberty, I talk about these things. Why is it important to have property rights? Why is it important for the landowner to be the one to decide and not some government bureaucrat? Why is it important for the parent to decide the upbringing of the child, the health decisions, the when to approach sensitive topics, all those kind of things? Why is it important for the parent to decide that and not some government agency, entity, teacher, whoever else is in the child's life? These things are time tested, what we call the timeless principles of liberty. They're biblically based. That's where the truth is, but they're also proven throughout history. So this isn't just some religious, esoteric, philosophical idea or discussion. These things actually work, and they've been proven to work throughout history. It's the good stuff going in that has good stuff coming out. The opposite is also true. If we ignore these things, we're going to end up with a poisonous society, which is what has happened in the past because we weren't involved. That's what we're turning around. So anyway, that's been sort of the last couple of weeks from California to Virginia and everywhere else we've been. and then of course this week in Arkansas, and later this week in Colorado. So we'll continue that pace, and then we start our Patriot Institute September 15th. Actually, let me drive this home tonight. If you're not aware or familiar with the Patriot Institute, this is our one-year program. So this is an in-residence program at the Patriot Academy campus that is designed for 18 to 25-year-olds to come there to the campus and spend a year getting grounded, finding their purpose, just expanding their knowledge, being able to really understand not just biblical worldview in terms of what's right and wrong, but what are all the other worldviews in the world, and how do you counter that or compete with that or deal with that? And then just leadership skills, public speaking skills, how to work a room, relationship skills, all of those things. It is literally a year to get ready for their life, to prepare for whatever God's got for them, and to figure out what the arena is that they want to initially go into. So Patriot Institute is really our deepest, certainly our most involved program out of everything we do at Patriot Academy. This is the big one, and we had a great class last year, our inaugural class. We are very excited about our 2025 to 2026 class. And I say the reason I'm talking about all this, first of all, be praying for all these students that are going to be showing up at the campus next week, or week after next, sorry. And also because we have a couple of slots left, not many, but there's a couple of slots left with scholarships. So this is a $15,000 scholarship, $15,000 scholarships. And I've got a couple left that I can give out if you apply immediately. So you've got to, if you know anybody in your life, 18 to 25, that sounds like a great plan for them. A year it's technically 9 months. It's September to May. But it's essentially a year program where they are with us, getting grounded, going through all these classes, getting a chance to work at the campus, getting a chance to try different things, really learning about life and figuring out what they want to do. If that sounds like if you know anybody in your life, or if you're watching this and you're interested in that, check this out at patriotacademy.com/institute. patriotacademy.com/institute. You need to apply, no kidding, in the next 48 hours, because we have to do the interviews by the end of the week, and we will assign these last few scholarships by the end of the weekend, this upcoming weekend. So we'd love to have you. If that sounds like something that you would like to do, then check it out. Okay, so that's Patriot Institute. What else was I going to talk about? Forgot. Okay, let me just go to your questions then. Thank you guys for joining me tonight and being a part of this. Thanks for doing the class at your church. Very, very cool. Yes, excellent. Excellent. Yeah, the couple of comments in here about Governor Abbott signing these medical freedom bills. It's kind of surreal, guys, to be honest with you. I've been fighting for this for 27 years. My very first session in the legislature, I was fighting for medical freedom, and I just saw it as individual rights, that government should not be able to force you to inject something into your body. And certainly parents should be the ones to decide for their kids. And for us, this began as just a practical, as parents doing our homework, really, my wife doing the homework. She's the one that just became a research addict, and she could tell you more about each of the vaccines back then than any medical doctor could. It was amazing. And so we did that so that we would know which ones we wanted to do and which ones we didn't. We weren't at all for abolishing or not allowing for these things to be available. We wanted them to be available to us and to our kids, and we just wanted to be the ones to make the decision about which ones to do. I mean, we knew from the research that the Hep B vaccine, for instance, total foolishness to pump that into a 6-month-old baby or 2-day-old baby, whenever the only instances of were coming from blood transfusion or sex. And so a baby does not need that in 99.9999999% of the cases. And so silly to take the risk of injecting something into the body that's trying to build an immune system up at that time. So anyway, that was an easy one for us, and then there were others that became easier as we studied them, and then some that we thought made sense. So that's all we were for. And this was, let's see, this would have been 1999. So however many years that is, 26 years ago. And it was so unpopular. I mean, I'm not kidding you. We got hate mail. We had our own family members that thought we were crazy. There were only a handful of us in the legislature that were for this. When I filed these bills, I mean, people thought I was crazy. I got called every name in the book. The medical industrial complex came after me with a vengeance. It's actually why I got beat, not that year, but 2 years later. I mean, they literally, it was the lawfare that you see a lot more of. I was one of their test cases, and it was because we went against the medical industrial complex. So medical freedom has been a big issue to our family for nearly 3 decades. And we did win that fight ultimately and get parental choice in vaccines in Texas as a result of that. But then COVID hits, and Governor Abbott becomes an absolute tyrant. Absolutely, does a terrible job during COVID, and has done a great job since then. But he was terrible for the first 9 months of COVID. He was as bad as any of the blue governors, and now here we are. He's signing medical freedom bills. So that just tells you how far someone can come. It's no different than Frederick Augustus Muhlenberg, a pastor in the Revolution, that said his brother John Peter Gabriel Muhlenberg was wrong for getting involved in the revolution. Just supposed to be a pastor, just supposed to preach the gospel, all that same stuff you hear all the time because of people not understanding what the gospel actually is, making disciples, right? And Frederick Augustus, though, changes his mind so much later because of the tyranny that was forced on him as he's kicked out of his church in New York, and his church is desecrated right in front of him. He becomes so involved, he becomes the first Speaker of the House under the Constitution and pushes through the First Amendment. Our freedom of religion is guaranteed by the First Amendment, not given by the First Amendment, given by God, but guaranteed by the First Amendment. Well, that's a huge shift from being a guy that's saying don't get involved to being the first Speaker of the House under the Constitution. I kind of look at Greg Abbott that way. I mean, here's a guy that was very wrong during COVID, acted like a tyrant during COVID, made healthy people stay home, went out there with his mask and told everybody else they had to wear all of that nonsense. From that to the guy that is now pushing for medical freedom, making sure that you can't be forced to take these jabs, that you can't be forced to do these things, that government isn't your doctor. Really good, folks. I mean, this is a big positive shift. He also pushed through school choice this time around. He pushed through this redistricting plan. So, hey, hats off, and a big toast to Greg Abbott for becoming lately a fantastic governor. And I'm thankful. So anyway, there's all of that. So yes, great comment about the medical freedom. So thankful for it, and super thankful. I want to say, a shout out to Jackie Schlegel. She's probably not on tonight, but she has been the champion that pushed those things through. She kind of picked up the torch where we had left it laying on the ground, honestly, because once Kara and I got out of the legislature and started doing speaking and the Constitution training and things around the country and Patriot Academy, we weren't involved in the legislature hardly at all. And so there was a constant attempt to reverse what we had done in terms of parental choice and vaccines. And Jackie's the one that took up the banner and fought that and continued to increase medical freedom and fight off any attempts to chip away at the medical freedom that we had won. So thank you, Jackie, for all that good work. I think there's no question that Governor Abbott signing those bills was in big part thanks to you. Let's see. Question from times they are a changing. The question is, Rick, I understand the Supremacy Clause covers the Constitution and statutes. What about federal agency law? Any suggestions on where I can find out more about this? Let me start generally speaking, just to make sure we understand. The Supremacy Clause in Article 6 of the Constitution does not say the federal government is always right and always has the final say. It's not what it says. It does say that if there's a conflict between federal law and state law, as long as that federal law is pursuant to the Constitution, in other words, in pursuance thereof, in other words, it is within the jurisdiction of the federal government, then it trumps state law. So in other words, let me put it this way. Pick out an actual power of the federal government that's in the Constitution, not one they've made up or that they've created for themselves and the Supreme Court has signed off on instead of we the people getting to decide with an amendment. I'm talking about something actually in, for instance, Article 1, Section 8. Let's take the clause that specifically sets up the patent, copyright, trademark protections of your property and gives the federal government the authority and responsibility to protect your property. Okay, so that clause does not in any way authorize the federal government to spend money on your invention or to help you create your invention. So we never should have given money to artists through the National Endowment for the Arts or even NPR or Big Bird or all these things that we did federal money on, and people would try to squeeze it into that clause. No, it says you're protecting an author's or an inventor's property, comma, or I'm sorry, you're encouraging those things, comma, by protecting those things. In other words, it's not by funding them. It's only by protecting their right to that for a limited time. That's what the clause says. Okay, that's a proper function of the federal government. Well, what if a state decides to pass a statute that says that you can only have your patent for 5 years and the federal government passes a law that says, no, your patent, we're using the clause in the Constitution to protect your invention, and we're going to make sure your patent is protected for, what is it, 13 or 17? I'm blanking on the number of years, or your copyright for your song or whatever it is for 70 years, whatever it is. The federal statute clearly defines those things, and a state says, no, we're going to do it for shorter, and then everybody's going to be allowed to use it. That's where the supremacy clause would come in and say, no, this is a proper federal action that overrides your state action when they are in conflict. And so that could be extrapolated out to what you're asking, which is if a federal agency is enforcing a particular federal regulation, here's the test, if that regulation is pursuant to the Constitution, meaning it's within the boundaries of the Constitution, and it is clearly executing a federal law passed by Congress and signed by a president, or allowed to be law without signing, but not vetoed is what I mean. If that's the case, then yeah, a federal regulation could actually trump state law, and the supremacy clause would kick in again if it's constitutional and it's not the agency making up law on its own. That's what so many of these Supreme Court decisions over the last 2 years have been about. That's why they've been so important. Jarkessi and a bunch of the other ones, Looper, and they're all about how far can a federal agency, go in creating its own law and requiring people to do things that there was no actual act of Congress that created that or said specifically they wanted that done. So much regulation out there by these federal agencies that was never specifically authorized by Congress, and tons more that was authorized by Congress but still isn't constitutional because the Constitution doesn't give the federal government to have that power. So that's a long answer to your question. I hope that makes sense, and certainly take Constitution Alive and biblical citizenship, and we talk about all those things in there. Okay, let's see. We got Steve said, I'm not a fan of Trump sending the National Guard into Chicago to help police the city. I think he's overstepping his bounds if he does this. Am I right in thinking this? Okay, so Steve, let me back up and start with D.C. because that's where this is all started. 100% constitutional for him to do this in D.C. D.C. is technically under the authority of the federal Congress. That's Article 1, Section 8. I think it's paragraph 15 or 17. I can't remember. At the very end of Section 8. And very specifically, D.C. was created to be the seat of federal government, not to be a state, never intended to be a state, not to be in a state, and always to be under the authority of Congress. The federal government should control Washington, D.C. And so the president he already has constitutional authority to do this, even in this, I just blanked on the name, but this 1973 or 74 law, home rule law that essentially defines the powers of the city government in DC. Even in that, it acknowledges the federal government technically is in charge, and that all they're doing is delegating this to a city council and local government in DC, and they can take it back at any time constitutionally. And there are times in that home rule act where the president may have to step in, and this would be a perfect scenario for that, where people are not safe and you've got all these murders and it's just a cesspool in DC. And I go there, used to go there a lot. I hate going there now. I may enjoy going back after another year or so of President Trump cleaning house. But anyway, that's a absolute 100% proper function of the federal government, and the president's within it. I actually think it should go further. I think it should not just be going in and supporting the police there and fighting crime. I think Congress should do its job and take DC over and kick out the city council. And there should be a committee in Congress, like it used to be, that governs Washington, D.C. That's what should happen. Maybe this will lead to that. I don't know. Now, to your question, because of the success of what they're doing in D.C., what is it, 15 days now without a murder? Is it, the crime's down 80%. Even the mayor there has admitted to the success of what the president's doing in Washington, D.C. So now, because of that, you've got other cities that where crime is crazy, like Chicago, and they're saying we're going to go in there as well. This is not as clear. Okay, this is a lot more difficult. There's an Article 4, Section 4 clause guaranteeing every state to be a republic, and the federal government's responsibility to guarantee that and protect that. I believe that's what he's acting under. That is not 100% clear whether or not this will be upheld, because normally you would want a state governor to ask for help for that to happen. It doesn't have to be, but that would be the better path. In this case, you've got the citizens asking for help, saying, we're sick of the crime, we're sick of the murder. These people that are in charge are putting people out on cashless bail. They're making it easy for criminals to walk the streets. They're doing $900 exemptions for stealing. The Eighth Commandment does not have a $900 exemption. And so it's just it's a disaster in all of these blue cities. So the people want it. I think the president should do it. I don't know for sure. I can't tell you for sure that it will be upheld. But I think it's a smart move to go in, and I think Article 4, Section 4 is what you use. At a minimum, at a bare minimum, absolutely use Homeland Security to go in and round up all of the illegal aliens and send them home. Okay, that he should do not just in Chicago, but as they are doing all over the country. In order to do that, you may have to come in with enough of a force to be able to effectively implement the policy that is the law of the United States and has been, and every other president should have been doing the same thing instead of opening our borders to let 10 million illegals come across the border illegally. So anyway, hope that answers that question. Let's see. Yeah, I don't see it as a I do see somebody saying this would be. Oh no, that's referring to another question on the 10th Amendment. Um, yeah, I don't. I'm not sure actually, Michael, what you're referring to on the 10th Amendment, but or which question you're referring to. Let's see. Alex said, "Do you think that the new developments in AI without oversight will lead to something dangerous? If so, then how do we push for more oversight when it comes to AI?" Hmm. It's a tough one, Alex. Very tough one. Because we often create new government entities and agencies and oversight out of fear of what something could become. I think there's absolutely a danger with what AI could become. Um, but you got to figure out what's the proper time to go in and say that that's actually reached the level of an actual threat. And so people a lot smarter than me on this one that have said yes, we need some sort of oversight and regulation. And so I'm kind of keeping my powder dry on this one. I'm not informed enough. I'm too ignorant on the topic to know where the line is. I absolutely think there is a point at which you have to do that, and I think it has to be when it becomes a threat that's not just theoretical. And so, anyway, that would be my answer on that one. I wish I had more for you, but that's about all I know on that one. Okay, I think that was the last question. And I don't see any others. So I'm going to get back to the family. Everybody have a fantastic week. Next week on Monday in the tavern, I'll finally be back in the tavern. And so I'll get to come to you from the tavern and have my mug and my coffee and ready to go. And I'll be giving you a full update on Constitution City, all the things that are happening at the Patriot Academy campus. And we'll be getting ready for the move in of all the new Patriot Institute students that are headed in for this year's program. Again, if you're interested in that, if you got some 18 to 25-year-olds that you think would do well at a one-year program with us on site at the campus, then be sure and check out patriotacademy.com/institute. Patriotacademy.com/institute. Send that out to all of them. Let them know we've got a couple of more $15,000 scholarships available, but you got to get on there and get your application in the next 48 hours, or you will not be considered for that. Let's see. Sir Rick was just suggesting another resource about federal agency law. Oh, I got you. Yeah. They're good. Those are good folks at the 10th Amendment Center. Go for it. Okay, out of time, folks. I'm not going to get on the rope swing, but I might jump in the lake. Okay. Anyway, see you guys. God bless.